Now, the issue here, of course, is that historically speaking, Jews and Christians have not accepted the claims of Muhammad's prophethood. That's not to say that none of them did, but the overwhelming majority of them rejected his prophetic status. And one of the main reasons why I think Muhammad does not qualify as a prophet using biblical criteria is if we examine some of the aspects of his life, particularly that recorded in the Hadith. The Quran does not say much about Muhammad, his life, his birth. It mentions him only by name 4 times. But when we examine some of the ideas revolving around his life and his message, there are certain things that I find very disturbing. For instance, when Muhammad was called at Mount Hira, we're told in the Hadith that he was confronted or he encountered a spirit being who he believed to be a jinn. The spirit being commanded him to recite something. He didn't know what to recite. And after the second and third time, Muhammad says that this being clasped him by the throat and asked him to recite something. And there's this element of coercion and so forth. And Muhammad walks away from this experience thinking, in fact, that he has not received something from God. Rather, he walks away from this experience thinking that he's been possessed by the jinn. And after this experience, he even becomes suicidal to the point of wanting to cast himself over the cliff. Now, the first question I have to ask is, if Muhammad was a prophet in the same line as the biblical prophets, then why is it that we find no such parallel with any of the biblical prophets? Which biblical prophet thought that they were possessed by a demon or wanted to commit suicide after encountering God?
When I spoke about the minimalist versus the maximalist view of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, this is where Hadith comes into play, because Muslims will generally accept the standard Hadith collections as they are with minimal criticisms, at least traditional Muslims will. But in a debate like this, we don't need to ask for the maximalist view with all of these hadiths in mind. We need to look at the minimalist view. What is at the least that is known about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? Now, apart from Muslims, academic scholars generally do not accept the hadith collections as being authentic. Apart from Muslims, academic scholars generally do not accept the hadith collections as being authentic. Some of them take a balanced view, such as Harold Motsky, and I'm inclined towards that view, between the two extremes of, on the one hand, rejecting all of the hadith, and on the other hand, accepting them uncritically. If we were to take such a balanced view of the hadith, then some of Tony's objections actually fall flat, because, for example, the story about the satanic verses, which is found in the hadith, John Burton has shown that these stories found in the hadith and in the seerah works are not authentic. These were actually made up by Muslims in order to justify certain doctrines that they were developing among themselves for their own reasons. Moreover, much that is there in the seerah works actually come out of the Muslims pondering upon the Quran, not by actually observing history. And this has been demonstrated by Wim Raven in the Encyclopedia of the Quran, in the articles written by Wim Raven. So when Tony says, okay, this is how the first revelation is described, that is not actually described like that in the Quran itself. This is a description that Muslims arrived at, and as Wim Raven and others point out, these descriptions are not authentic. So Tony's objection, look, the Prophet Muhammad wanted to kill himself, and that might indicate that he's not a true prophet, that objection actually falls flat because he's relying on unreliable information regarding the Prophet Muhammad, and whom be peace.